Welcome to a new segment of Coptic Civilization. I'm Michael Saad. Coptic civilization is about art, music, language, literature, way of worship, way of life, social interactions, archaeology, history, and many other things. Many of these aspects of Coptic civilization are on display in the real world in the city of Old Cairo, where churches, synagogue, mosque, and many other aspects of Egyptian life coexisted over the centuries. I'm honored to have with me today Mrs. Carolyn Ludwig, the editor of a new book by the name Old Cairo, and Dr. Gawdat Gabra, one of the co-authors of the book. Welcome, Carolyn. Welcome, Gawdat, to our program. Carolyn Ludwig is the author of a book that appeared about 10 years ago that entitled Jewels in Our Crown Churches of Los Angeles. And the editor of another famous book, The Churches of Egypt, which includes the journey of the Holy Family at different sites in Egypt. And her third project was the production as editor and the inspiration for this book, Old Cairo, which just appeared in the month of March by American University in Cairo Press. And the book launch is happening in March of this year, 2013. The idea of the book is to capture the Coptic churches, one mosque and one important synagogue, and the Coptic Museum in Cairo. And it captures the coexistence of the three religions in Old Cairo, which is a role model for life and the nourishment of three religions nourishing each other in a famous world center for Christianity, Islam, and Judaism. Welcome again. If I may start with Carolyn, what motivated you to think of the project of Old Cairo?
Well, after being there many times and knowing that tourism was important there, I felt that the tourists really weren't getting it. They weren't getting enough information. And I wanted to do a map that would be more descriptive of where they were and help them understand. And I was speaking to Gabra, and he convinced me that there's so much more there, and that the history and the heritage, the religious heritage, was so deep that we needed to do this in a thorough way. And I've been ever so grateful that he encouraged us to do it, because it is well worth it.
Dr. Gawdat Gabra, So you inspired each other.
Sure, sure.
And so what was your, why did you think of Old Cairo in particular?
Well, I'm glad that Carolyn, she visited Egypt more than 50 times. And she loved the churches of Egypt, and we, as a group, cooperated together, and a wonderful book, The Churches of Egypt, appeared a few years ago. And when she thought of Old Cairo is a unique place. And I am glad that she supported the project. Without her inspiration, support, the book of Old Cairo wouldn't appear. And Old Cairo is a unique place for the coexistence of Christian community, Jewish community, and Islamic community all over many centuries. So we started working there, and I worked more than 15 years, director of the Coptic Museum, and my heart is in Old Cairo. So when she suggested a book like that, I was very happy, and we have a very good photographer, Sharif Sambol. We have great colleagues, Stephen Reif, professor of Judaism, medieval Judaism in Cambridge, and librarian of the great Genizak documents. Gertrude van Loon, a great specialist of the churches or the Coptic art, and especially the churches of Old Cairo. And Tariq Suilem, a Harvard graduate, he wrote his PhD in Harvard about the Mosque of Ibn Tulun, which is not far from Old Cairo. So Carolyn inspired all of us to produce such important reference for history and the heritage of Old Cairo.
Let us see the book cover on the screen. And the title of the book, The History and the Religious Heritage of Old Cairo, its fortress, churches, synagogue, and mosque. And 4 co-authors, and 2 editors, and photographer, 7 major contributors to the book from different nationalities, different religions, Christians of different denominations, 1 Muslim, 1 Jew, and that's amazing. Carolyn Ludwig is on the Fine Arts Committee of the Catholic Cathedral in Los Angeles, Our Lady of the Angels, and she is Catholic, and so many other, the other contributors are of different religions and denominations, and that's representative of the message of the book. So what did you have in mind, Carolyn, when you decided to make the 3 religions of Old Cairo in this book? You visited Egypt more than 50 times, I understand. And so what was going in your mind?
I wanted to tell the whole story and the thorough story of this area. And it was an opportune time because Dr. Zahi Hawass, at the time, Director of Antiquities, the Supreme Council of Antiquities, was preparing Fustat, that is behind the Amr Mosque, and the ruins there. That is the first Islamic city in the world, planned city. And the mosque as well is the first mosque built on the whole African continent. And he was preparing them for tourism. And so it was an idyllic time for us to document those ruins. And of course, the mosque has been there for a long time and renovated in and out. And we used, for all 3 sites, we used old photographs found in the American University in Cairo photograph archives to show what was as we could and what is now. And I think we achieved that, being thorough and telling the reader the whole story, because it's a rich one, in Gawdat's words, a very rich one and deep in history.
That's amazing, because Old Cairo has been always mentioned in the books of history, and even expeditions like the French expedition painted things. And let us see here on the screen this view, and Dr. Gabra can perhaps please would you explain to us when was this painted, and what does it explain? Does it exist today, this picture?
No, it is an 18th century beautiful picture showing the Babylon fortress, the churches within the Babylon fortress, the Jewish synagogue, and the far a little bit the Mosque of Amr, and then this huge collection to the left is the San Mercurius church and monastery and the other churches.
So sorry to ask you, interrupt. Is this Saint Mercurius monastery that we know today, is that close to Old Cairo fortress and the Mu'allaqa church and the Coptic museum?
Yes. For the
today, yeah.
Saint Mercurius is known to us, to the Egyptians, Abu Safin.
Right.
The area of Old Cairo, in fact, is unique because it has ancient Egyptian monuments. There, in Old Cairo, had been a Nilometer to measure the Nile. And I remember that in 1992, they found blocks, huge blocks, showing that there had been a temple there from the Ptolemaic period, Ptolemy V. And also, if you visit Old Cairo now, behind the Greek church, you will see a naos, a huge granite naos of one of the last Egyptian pharaohs, Nectanebo I, from the 4th century. So the site is very rich, in fact. And the Babylon fortress is a huge fortress built by Emperor Diocletian, and it is very interesting.
May I show the fortress of Babylon picture on the screen? And what is this? This is the fortress itself, ruins.
These are some ruins within the fortress. Next, please, if you have.
So this was from the Diocletian time?
Yeah, the whole fortress. If you show the last one, which we have seen. Yeah, in any case. The Emperor Diocletian built this huge fortress, and as we know that Diocletian, his time was a time of persecution to the Christians in Egypt and also all over the world. And we know the calendar of the Copts starts with the first year of the accession of Diocletian. It is very interesting that this site became a great center of Christianity.
Where the Holy Family is this?
The Holy Family, where you have the Church of St. Sergius, you have also other churches. So Old Cairo is a very important center of Christianity, and famous church, one of the most famous churches in Egypt, a church of al-Mu'allaqa, or the suspended church. A lot of religious heritage there. You have there also the oldest Jewish synagogue, the synagogue of Ben Ezra. It's also near the, not very far from the Church of St. Sergius. You have also the Greek Orthodox Church, and they're also not far from the Babylon fortress. We have the oldest mosque in Africa and the first Islamic capital in Africa, al-Fustat. So Old Cairo is unique in many respects, and I am glad that this book on Old Cairo shows the heritage of the three denominations, and also the coexistence between the members of the communities. For example, Jews didn't live in ghettos there. And we have evidence, we have many, the Geneza documents, 200,000 documents were found in the Ben Ezra synagogue. Geneza is a place, store room in a synagogue where the Jews kept their manuscripts, their documents, contracts, sales, receipts, all that together. And well, in 1817, in 1880, around the time, the 140,000 documents were taken to Cambridge University, and I am glad that Professor Stephen Reif, the librarian of this collection, participated in the book and also provided beautiful documents in the book. So another issue of Old Cairo, in 600 before Christ, the Egyptians dug a canal between Babylon in Old Cairo now and the Red Sea. This means this is the old idea of Suez Canal.
Wow,
Yes.
from Cairo to the Red Sea.
Yeah, from Old Cairo, where Old Cairo is the place where we have the Babylon fortress. We call Fatimid Cairo, where you have the Mosque of Al-Azhar and Heart Room and the Khan al-Khalili. We call it historic Cairo. But Old Cairo is the place where we have the Babylon fortress and these churches.
Yeah.
And 600 before Christ, the Egyptians dug a canal between this area and the Red Sea. So the ships came from Mediterranean, then through one of the branches of the Nile, and then to near Babylon, and then again to the canal, and then to the Red Sea. So this is the oldest, Suez Canal in Egypt. So the site, in fact, is very important in many respects, and it is enough to say that in Cairo you have the oldest churches of Cairo are in that area, and most important also part of the Christian heritage is in the Coptic Museum, which is, I believe, the most important place in the world that shows the richness of the Coptic civilization. This needs, of course, more and more TV programs about the Coptic Museum.
Carolyn, please, what do you think?
I love the stories about the canal.
Mm-hmm.
And Trajan was credited with doing that, but I think it was started a little bit before then. And the fact that two ships could go at the same time, pass each other, and they could go back and forth from the Red Sea to this port in Old Cairo in 4 days. Really huge to think about in those days, so it became a major shipping point. But also...
So add this to the monuments like the pyramids, like the Sphinx, digging
right.
a canal from
That's right.
a river to a sea is amazing.
It is,
civilization.
It is, and then
Yeah.
Nebuchadnezzar, the second
Right.
and the first are mentioned in some documents and writings, were involved in building some of this fortress area. So it goes back to the New Testament and 500 years before.
Yes.
So
yes.
it to me, it makes it so much more interesting to learn about
Yes.
as part of Old Cairo.
So actually, Christ, if we see the picture on the screen, lived in this particular space we see on the screen, Old Cairo, and the book, for this reason, if I may come to, because we need to conclude soon, to show that the back of the book has 3 messages by the leaders from 3 religions. And our very revered His Eminence Amba Pachomius, who was the acting pope a year ago, during the vacancy of the papal seat, wrote one of the three prefaces of the book, and then the Grand Mufti of Egypt, Dr. Ali Goma, wrote another preface, and the United States ambassador to Egypt, former ambassador, wrote the middle column. He has Jewish background, so the three religions were represented in introducing the book.
Yes.
And I wish I could read each one of them, but the reader is welcome to buy the book from Amazon.com. It may take a couple of weeks for it to be available for shipping, because it just appeared by the American University in Cairo Press. And an anonymous donor gave many copies to Logos TV, so that Logos can offer it for free. If the donor give a gift of $500 or more to Logos TV, so please, I encourage you to call the telephone number of Logos TV on the screen and order and give a gift by Visa card, for example, or learn about the address that you can send a check, and donate $500 or more, and we will send you a copy of this book. So don't miss this opportunity. And I want to ask you for a final word to conclude the segment today, and please join us again next week for another segment of Coptic civilization, which we will continue in future times, our conversation on Old Cairo, the new book, and a whole lot to see inside the book. Please.
Well, on the occasion of the appearance of the book, I invite all the inhabitants of Cairo.
Yes.
You can take the metro to Marigerga station and drop in all the Cairo. They enjoy the churches, they can see the old churches. Then the Coptic Museum is a very important monument for everybody, and they can take their children, enjoy the garden of the Coptic Museum, the beautiful pieces inside the museum with description and graphic design. They do not need a guide. So I invite them to enjoy Old Cairo with all the aspects of its heritage.
Please, Carolyn, if
Yes, I encourage everyone to go see it too, and with the knowledge that you gain from the information in this book, it will enlighten you so much, and you'll know your heritage and the history of Old Cairo.
Thanks to both of you, Carolyn Ludwig and Gawdat Gabra. And thank you for producing this valuable volume and previous volumes. And our viewers, see you next week in another segment of Coptic Civilization. I'm Michael Saad.